that does happen, as far as any mixed-use development that includes housing, that 30% of that development have affordable options. Also, that any job opportunities as far as construction, after construction, are offered to Harrison residents first, and not just Harrison residents, but North Minneapolis. There hasn't been any investment in North Minneapolis that has actually benefited any North Minneapolis residents in my entire life at 24 years. And I think this is a very good opportunity for the city of Minneapolis to clean up some of the gaps that are already present. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Anyone have anything they'd like to comment on? Councilmember Cano?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to vote no on this issue today, and mostly because I don't appreciate coming to the committee and having these issues be presented without any background in terms of how the staff have worked with the community to address some of the concerns. I value the voices of the residents a lot. I am very aware of the issues of gentrification that are coming up in our communities, especially around development projects. So I just wanted to thank the residents for coming here, for letting me know about your concerns. And if there's any way I can support you moving forward, please let me know.
Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's a very fortunate thing that's happened today. We have the community coming out full force demanding more affordable housing and how that should be part of the mix of our redevelopment efforts. And they're very fortunate that the area is represented by someone who's the top practitioner and champion towards affordable housing production, not just championing it, but actually producing it. So I see a very happy coincidence today of a leader and a community calling for the same thing.
So here's what I'll say. For the past 15 years, there's been a process in place with the Harrison Neighborhood Association, the Bryn Mawr Neighborhood Association, and the Basset Creek Valley. They've completed a master plan, and we're in the process now of implementing the master plan. The folks who work for the Harrison Neighborhood Association know this. They might be new. Mr. Powers himself has lived in the neighborhood for 15 years, so you're aware there's a plan in place, and that plan has very broad buy-in by everyone. So, Councilmember Cano, I don't think you need to worry. These are not new issues. These are issues the community has been working jointly on, Harrison and Bryn Mawr, for about 15 years. This parcel that we're speaking of specifically, quite frankly, now is crap. You would agree, it's nothing. It's industrially zoned, vacant land that we're attempting to do an RFP so that we can actually start the redevelopment process. There isn't a single person who would be losing their housing as a result of this plan because there is no housing there. So there's no residents that would need to be given any right of first refusal because there's not one single resident living in this location now. The zoning does not allow for high rises in this location, not in the current zoning code, not in the current master plan. So there's no concern that there are going to be high rises built and displace people who are living here. I do think the first speaker is correct. There probably will be some commercial opportunities, and absolutely the Basset Creek Valley Master Plan Planning Committee in conjunction with Harrison and Bryn Mawr want to see exactly what you have been suggesting, which is why that's part of the existing and adopted plan. So if we want to move forward on something, we might as well move forward on something, but if we don't want to move forward on something, leave it the way it is. Perfectly fine with me. We won't have to worry about gentrification at all because nothing will happen for another 50 years. But in order for something to happen, we have to take an action to create a redevelopment district, and all three of these things that I got in an email saying we're worried about these things are not things to be worried about on this parcel. And I think we've explained that, and there's been a long-standing community process and master planning process that's been going on for about the past 15 years. I'm sorry, Councilmember Cano is unaware of it. On the motion to approve the staff recommendation on item number 5, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. With one voting no, that item is approved. On to item number 6. Mr. Frank, welcome.
Thank you. Madam Chair, committee members, I'm David Frank here today for Rebecca Perel, who sends her regrets. As you know, the City of Minneapolis has a long-held vision for the Lake and Nicollet area, includes reopening Nicollet Avenue across Lake Street and the Midtown Greenway and redeveloping the property on both sides of the reopened Nicollet Avenue. There's strong policy support and support from the community for this effort. In April of 2014, the City Council approved the Lake and Nicollet redevelopment plan. And just this past November 2015, the City Council authorized acquisition of the 30 West Lake Street grocery store parcel and negotiating an option for the 10 West Lake Street Kmart parcel. The city acquired the grocery store parcel this past December, and we are close to executing an option agreement for the 10 West Lake Street property. Up to $6,275,000 of funding for these transactions was appropriated from the development account until the City Council could approve a modification to the Common Project and Redevelopment Plan, at which time tax increment of the Common Project will reimburse the development account fund. Staff is here today to recommend that the City Council conduct a public hearing and adopt resolutions approving modification 125 to the Common Development and Redevelopment Plan and Common Tax Increment Financing Plan, and modification number 1 to the Lake and Nicollet Redevelopment Plan, and appropriate Common Project tax increment revenue to repay the temporary funding. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Frank? I think I've explained this issue. This is not allocation of any funding.
Correct.
It's opening up the possibility of a source for funding if we should go forward in the future.
Madam Chair, that's right.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Frank? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is a modification of the Common Development and Redevelopment Plan and Common Project TIF districts at the Lake and Nicollet redevelopment area. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Madam Chair, I'm excited actually to take step 2 of a long process going forward. So this modifies those funding opportunities, and so I'd like to move approval of this item.
Item number 6 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to our License and Consumer Services public hearing agenda, starting with item number 1, which is the Bachelor Farmer Marvel Bar. Who's handling this, Michelle or Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Bachelor Farmer Restaurant Marble Bar is seeking a permanent expansion of premises to have an interior area addition at the front of their building and an exterior outdoor patio area at the rear of the building. This additional seating will allow 41 additional seats indoors and an additional 72 seats out of doors. The Bachelor Farmer has operated at this location since 2011. A public hearing is required for this expansion. Notices were mailed to residents and property owners within 450 feet on December 14th. We also notified the North Loop Neighborhood Association, Downtown Neighborhood Association, Warehouse District Business Association, and we posted multi-unit residential dwellings in the area. We received no responses for or against this application. It seems to meet all of our requirements, and staff is recommending that you approve this application.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 7? Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Wilson, just to be clear, does the expansion also includes the area to the side, not to the back of Bachelor Farmer? So that patio in between Bachelor Farmer and Ascot Finlayson?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Fry, yes, it does. It is on the side.
Yeah.
Are there any further questions for staff on item number 7? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 7. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will happily move approval of this item. It's something I'm really excited about. Bachelor Farmer has been at Marvel Bar and Ascot Finlayson have really been wonderful neighbors and community members for several years now. And the expansion to include that alleyway in between is a really beautiful addition. So I'm happy to support this as well as the upgraded license.
On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 8, Black Sheep Pizza. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, the Black Sheep Coal-Fired Pizza at 600 Washington Avenue North is seeking a license upgrade. They would like to upgrade their license, which is currently in wine and strong beer license Class E, to a full on-sale liquor with Sunday sales Class E license. No other change is requested in this application. The food service and premises will be the same as it is now. A public hearing is required for this upgrade. 221 notices were mailed to residents and property owners within 450 feet. On December 23rd, we notified the neighborhood association and business associations in the area. We received one response from our notification process, and that response was in support of the application. The First Precinct Police Department has conducted a security review with the applicant for their license upgrade, and that has been completed. They meet all of our requirements, and we are recommending approval of this application.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 8? Seeing none, this is a public hearing on item number 8 for a license upgrade for Black Sheep Pizza. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to move approval for another great North Loop institution.
Further comments and questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 9, Blaze Pizza. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a restaurant known as Blaze Pizza. Legal entity is Team DHW LLC, and they have a pizza restaurant at 1000 Washington Avenue Southeast. They have operated at that location since November 15th. They are asking to, for the first time, get an on-sale wine and strong beer license to accompany their restaurant license. They have interior seating for 64 persons, no exterior seating at this location. Their common hours are Sunday through Thursday to 10 p.m. and Friday and Saturday till 1 a.m. This is in the Wahoo development on Washington Southeast in Stadium Village, near the University of Minnesota campus. Blaze Pizza is a casual restaurant specializing in serving fresh individual-sized pizzas. In addition to pizza, Blaze offers salad, desserts, and other beverages. Public hearing is required. Notices were mailed to property owners and residents within 600 feet of the main door. We received one response from that mailing, and that was in support. Staff's recommendation is that you approve this application.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 9? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 9, which is a new license at 1000 Washington Avenue Southeast. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll also move approval of this item.
Item number 9 has been moved for approval. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On to item number 10. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lucid Brewing LLC, doing business as Inbound Brew Co., is seeking an on-sale liquor license for a tap room associated with a brewery, an off-sale malt liquor license for growler sales, and a sidewalk cafe license at 701 North 5th Street. This will be an establishment that has a tap room with a seating capacity of 182 persons on the interior and 20 seats on a exterior sidewalk cafe. They anticipate to have daily hours of operation from 11 in the morning till 12 midnight, 7 days a week. Principal owners of this new business are Eric Bierman and John Messier. The manager of Inbound Brew Co. will be John Messier, and he has been operating the Lucid Brewing Company in Minnetonka since 2011. The Class B license does allow live entertainment, and they will occasionally offer live entertainment on evenings and weekends. Public hearing is required because no liquor license has ever been held at this site. 35 notices were mailed to the residents and property owners within 450 feet. We notified the North Loop Neighborhood Association and the Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association and the Warehouse District Business Association. We received no response from this application, from the notification process for this application. A security review has been completed by the Minneapolis Police Department's First Precinct, and they seem to meet all of our requirements, and we are recommending that you approve this application.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 10? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 10, which is a new license at 701 5th Street North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Oh, great. Come on up. State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Council. Thanks for having us. My name is John Messier. I'm one of the owners and founders of Lucid Brewing. We're excited about this project. We've been building the building out for a few months now. We've operated as Lucid Brewing for the last 4 years now, and we're looking to take on a new venture with a new tap room. Currently, we're out in Minnetonka. We don't have this kind of facility in the back of our warehouse, so this is going to be a fun experience.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks. Any questions?
Nope, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to move approval of this item as well. And if there were any shortage of opportunities to get a drink in North Loop, which there clearly not, this will add to them. We're really thrilled to have you guys.
On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 11. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 11 is a application by Mayfair Holdings, LLC. They're seeking a on-sale liquor license Class E to operate a restaurant to be known as FA. This is in the St. Anthony Main Complex at 219 Main Street Southeast. You'll have seating for 130 persons indoors and exterior seating for 60 persons as the seasons permit. We'll have operations till 1 a.m. 7 days a week. Jeff Rundell is the 100% owner, shareholder, and officer of this company. FA will serve fresh Mexican cuisine along with other items 7 days a week. They will also feature brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. Public hearing is required. 27 public hearing notices were mailed to the property owners and residents within 600 feet of the main door of this establishment. We also notified the Marcy Homes Neighborhood Association. We received 2 responses from our public hearing notification process. Both the responses were in support of the application. And staff finds that they meet all of the requirements and are recommending that you approve this application.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 11? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 11, which is a new proprietor for 219 Main Street Southeast, FA. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Arundel, Mayfair Holdings, LLC. And I just want to point out that I also own and operate the Astor Cafe. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you for being here today.
Thanks.
Is anyone else here to speak to this issue? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is obviously a really big day for new, small, and local businesses in the 3rd Ward. My girlfriend, who happens to be a natural blonde, has been asking for a Mexican restaurant within walking distance of where we live for the last couple of years. So while I don't deserve any credit on this one, I will take it, at least with respect to her. So thank you. We're really happy to have you. I move approval of this item.
On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll come to our last licenses and consumer services item. Mr. Wilson, Loring Corners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. D'Amico Catering, LLC has applied for a rental hall license, and rental hall licenses do require a public hearing since one has not been issued at this address before. So this will be the Loring Corners Event Center, 1629 Hennepin. They will be operating, depending on the event, up until 2 a.m., 7 days a week. A public hearing is required for this application, and we did notify residents and property owners within 300 feet of the premises on December 21st. We also notified the Loring Park Neighborhood Association and any 1605 Hennepin and others multi-unit buildings were hand-posted. We received no responses from that mailing process. We find that they meet all of our requirements for a rental hall license, and staff recommends that you approve it.
Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 12, which is a new license at 1629 Hennepin Avenue. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Barb Schultz. I opened actually Lurcott on Loring Park, and we love that neighborhood and really want to be a part of this. Thank you for considering.
Thank you for being here today. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move approval. I'll note I have had the opportunity to go through the space. It is just beautiful on the historic Fox block across the street from the Basilica. Just the perfect location for weddings and events, especially events in the Loring Park neighborhood. It's a huge and wonderful addition to the neighborhood. I'm ecstatic about it. So I will happily move approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. I just wanted to see if Ms. who is doing the report on item number 22? Ms. Calvert? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take item number 22 before the quasi-judicial public hearing so you don't have to sit around. So we're going to take up item number 22, which is, for our information, a discussion item, and then we'll move on to the quasi-judicial public hearing. Ms. Calvert, welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I'm glad I was listening in. Madam Chair, members of the committee, in case you don't know, I'm Calvert from the Seabed Department, here today to recommend a process that we're kind of excited about as a way to move the Upper Harbor Terminal a step forward towards redevelopment. For anybody who doesn't know or is watching on TV, the UHT site is a city-owned site, not quite 50 acres, that's located along the river in North Minneapolis from roughly 33rd to about 40th Avenue. Historically, it was operated as a barge shipping terminal, and what that is now, barge shipping has ended, and we are working to transition that to new uses. And the approved above the falls plan guides the site to be a combination of riverfront park and private development. And in a typical process between the city and the park board, we would have job owned and come to some agreement as to how much should be riverfront park, how much should be private development. They would have then gone off and done their park design and development, and we would have done one or more RFPs for private development. But in this case, there were a couple of factors that made that kind of challenging. One is there's a collection of historic buildings on this, or buildings that have been determined to be eligible for historic designation on the site, and not knowing what future those may or may not have was affecting our park planning and where the park boundary might go. And we felt we needed private development expertise on that. Secondly, there's pretty much general agreement. We want some sort of destination in addition to the parkway and the trails along the river. We want some sort of destination along the riverfront that will bring people into the area and start changing its identity. And that might be a special park feature, might be a private concession that's on park board land as a tenant, think a restaurant, a boat rental place or something like that. Both of those would need enough room in the park boundary in order to be feasible and successful, or it might be a private development, or it might be a combination of all of those. And that was another case where we felt like we needed some private development input in order to be wise and make good decisions on that. So what we're proposing to do is, instead of doing the typical process, that we would do a request for qualifications, or RFQ, where we'd select a developer based on their capacity and experience as developers, and we want somebody who has a track record of kind of doing the high quality, innovative, neat sorts of development projects that we envision on this site. Once we have, and we would be focusing, by the way, on a first phase, it would be roughly the northern half of the site. Once the developer is selected, then we would offer them, after approval by the city council, would offer them exclusive rights to work with the city and with the park board if they agree with the selection of the developer, and with the community to come up with an integrated plan that would be both the private development and the park. Where do the park amenities go? What private development complements the park, et cetera? And we think that this way we would be able to get the private development input that we need to make wise decisions. And we think we also may end up with more creative, synergistic plan, because we're looking at the two pieces of the whole working together rather than being somewhat separate. Along the way, we also want to do some sort of process, and we will be looking both locally and nationally for the master developer. But also we'll be working with them to try to identify local partners. That might be somebody who's interested in running a restaurant as a tenant, maybe a nonprofit that has a great program they want to operate on the river, maybe a developer who doesn't want to be the master developer but do a piece of it. So we do that sort of process along the way too. So the action that we're recommending today is approval authorization to enter into a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the Park Board that would guide this process. And our hope is that this will be very collaborative, and all the way along the line, the Park Board and the city will come to shared decisions. You'll note that in the MOU term sheet, there are some recognition. There's some decision points where we may agree to disagree, go different directions, and we would kind of carve out what decisions are the cities to make, what are the Park Boards to make, so that we can still keep moving forward. So the outline, or the report in front of you, does outline it's a term sheet for the MOU. One of the attachments to the MOU is what we're calling characteristics of success, which kind of is an outline of what we want to achieve on the site. We will be refining that with community engagement. And then there's also kind of an outline of the process and a tentative timeline that I think getting started anyway is a little bit optimistic. One of the things I'd note is the MOU term sheet does include some identification of what tools both the city and the Park Board are willing to indicate in the RFQ we're willing to consider bringing to the table. Not that we're making a commitment, for example, to tax increment finance, but at least that we're saying we'll discuss that as we move through. So I'm certainly happy to answer any questions or go through the term sheet in more in detail. I'm joined today with my Park Board colleague, Kate Lamers at the Park Board, who's been working with me arm in arm through the process if there are Park Board questions.
Okay, are there any questions from Ms. Calvert? Thank you for your report. I have a few comments about this. I appreciate all of the work that you and the park system staff have put into this. So this is the first time in front of our committee that rather than extending the contract for river services to maintain this site, that we're actually moving in a different direction, and it's been 50 years in the making. So I think in that way it's historic. I do want to note that the city has set out many, many times to do really amazing historic things like the Bassett Creek Valley redevelopment or Kmart at Lake Street, and we're 20 years into it and haven't seen a lot of success. So I think it's important for government and its partners to dream big and note that there's a lot of expectations surrounding this, about that it might take a little longer than we think, or it might happen right away. We just don't know, and we won't know until we try. I think that in many ways, this is really unique because it's a partnership between the city and the park system itself. Rather than the city saying, here's our land, and by the way, maybe we'll let you have some parks in it, it's really acknowledged the fact that having park amenities and access to the riverfront are what make the land suitable for development and enhance the ability to develop the area because of the park amenities that will be there. And so the partnership between the park system and the city is really important because no one wants to do anything unless those two things are joined together. I just want to note that Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Reich, and I have spent a good amount of time going over the details of this term sheet and have spent a lot of years hoping to get to this point. They're both here today, and I'm sure have comments to make. And then I especially want to thank our staff for the exhibit with regard to the characteristics of success. We're very much in a performance measurement mode at the city, and I think that this really lays out there how we would view success, noting that the number one way we would note it is if there was a first-class regional park that serves North Minneapolis and the region as a whole in this location, and that there would be similar and significant high-quality private development as our top two priorities. And it lists a whole bunch of other priorities as well, and hopefully we'll be able to meet as many of the 9 that are identified as possible. But I'm really thrilled that we're not yet talking about an extension of river services or what kind of loss they're willing to take and how we're willing to share it, which has been the characteristic of every conversation regarding the Upper Harbor Terminal in all the years I've been here. So congratulations to you and the Park Board staff. I realize it's a tiny step, but in many ways it's a tiny step that says a lot. Councilmember Reich, followed by Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think you very well articulated some of the high points of what we have before us. You know, it is a turning point, and I think this is a recognition that we don't excuse ourselves from challenges or become overly wishful just because we want to see a big opportunity come to fruition. Let's be as thoughtful we can in terms of the framework that lets us move forward, knowing it's not going to be easy. It will take some time. There will be many challenges, and to really get the outcome we want, we're going to have to be mindful of those challenges and not excuse ourselves from them or ignore them or wish them away. I really think this is a very sophisticated model, and I think one of the things that it also allows us to do, it puts us in a position to do this incrementally well as well. That might be a way we go about it. It might not. We don't know. But if there was ever a way to position ourselves to do something incrementally, but also get a bigger vision, this really tees that up as well. And in terms of having a partnership, I think we've very thoughtfully invited our partners to the table in a real meaningful way. But for those who really care about the city's interest, we are in the driver's seat, and we will remain so moving forward. I think that's an important upfront way to be a good partner. But to know that I think we really had said, moving forward, we're shoulder to shoulder on this one. And that will make it, as Councilmember Goodman very well articulated, that's what will make a great project, that partnership.
Council President Johnson, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am celebrating this day. I heed the caution in things taking time, but, as I look at the time that I've spent involved in river projects, I mean, in one person's life, it's in the life of a city, it's nothing. And so, this proposal is going to take advantage, and I really like the idea of us kind of focusing on the northern end, because at the northern end of our site is just a couple properties away from North Mississippi Regional Park, which was a struggle to get established as a regional park. The Met Council didn't want to have it happen because it wasn't big enough, not enough land, and it happened. We worked on it, and it happened. And it's a marvelous facility. It took a while for people to find it and use it, but they use it in great numbers now. And then, as I think back on actually putting a shovel in the ground on the roadway between Hennepin Avenue and Plymouth Avenue, now the James I. Rice Parkway, that was not that terribly long ago a rail yard that now is a lovely park amenity, a new neighborhood in our city, 2 new housing developments in that area, right adjacent to the river, and then all of the development behind it, brand new development and redevelopment of existing historic structures. So I'm not going to be extremely patient. I think we'll find that this development will come along because of the value of the riverfront and the recognition of the changes that are going on in the riverfront. Closing of the lot.